Hi, my name is Alex Gilliam, and this is my testimony. My testimony begins whenever I was back in middle school and I had just started going to this new school from this bigger city and moved into this smaller town. And whenever I had gotten there, I did not belong and I didn't feel like I was part of the group, and I've had zero friends. And what made it worse was all the bullying that had occurred at the time. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate in middle school whenever you're going through puberty and all that and all these changes. Kids at that age, they're not very nice. And I was no exception to that rule, and I was no exception of the results of that rule. I was also not the exception of exhibiting that role either. I had moved to this small town in roughly 4th grade, and I moved out in 7th grade. And in between those times, I was bullied, and I did not feel part of the group, and I felt outcasted, I felt rejected, and I did not feel like I was one with the group. This resulted in me feeling rejected. This resulted in me not getting along with my dad, not getting along with my stepmom or my sisters. And I was just not living in peace. And I had been dealing with anger for a long time. And a lot of these things were beginning to build up. And it got to the point where I just didn't want to deal with it anymore. During this time in middle school, my dad had started taking us to church. For the first few years of my dad taking us to church, I had zero interest in doing anything with church. I was not interested in God. I was not interested in worship. I mean, I thought that all of this stuff was cheesy and tacky, and it just was not for me. My relationship with God began whenever I moved out of that town. I felt like that was an answer to prayers, because I surely thought, if God loves me, surely he'll take me out of this town, right? Well, as a matter of fact, he did. God gave me another chance whenever he had me move out of this town. Whenever I moved out of that small area and I was no longer getting bullied, I was still holding on to the rejection, and I was still holding on to all this anger, all this bitterness, and all this sadness. My dad had started taking us to another church, this new one, and the youth leader there had invited me to this youth camp. And so I went to this youth camp not really expecting a whole lot. And whenever I get there, there's this one particular service, and I don't remember which one it was. But I do remember during the sermon, the preacher had asked us to come down and see if we wanted prayer. And I remember putting my head down and I just prayed to God. I was like, God, if you're real, I just want this to be true. I just remember the preacher talking about letting go of your burdens and to cast it all away and to let everything go that you're holding on to. And I could have swore he was speaking to me. And so we were all instructed kind of as a sign to ourselves of letting go. We were instructed to go outside to the lake shore and to pick a rock. And we were to look at this rock and to think of all the hurt that we had inside. So I looked at this rock and I thought of all the times that I was bullied, all the times that I wasn't getting along with my dad, all the times I had fought with my sisters and my stepmom. And I just thought, I'm letting it go. I'm letting everything go right now. And I chucked that rock as hard as I could into the lake. And I just felt this great relief from me. That night was the night that I gave my heart to the Lord, where I said, I'm taking the next step in this, and I am trusting the Lord. I feel like a perfect verse that goes along with this is a passage in the book of Matthew in chapter 11, verses 28 through 29. Then Jesus said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke fits perfectly, and the burden I give you is light." And ever since then, I have gotten along with my parents. I have gotten along with my sisters and my stepmom. I have the best friends that I could ever ask for, and I belong in a wonderful church family. And the Lord has blessed me with great relationships that I would say 99% of the time, because nobody's perfect, the 1%, that 99% of the time that I don't end up feeling rejected anymore. And I actually feel welcomed and loved and appreciated and seen. My name is Alex Gilliam, and this is my testimony.